They reset up the room. Coming to this side. All right, we're following up with leads today. Get my little clicker, my pointer. Wait, which has been the best Ignite session so far? Clay. Clay is awesome. Yep. And then all of his little teachings are on the wall there. 6 personal perspectives.
What's that other gentleman that did the podcast last week on Tuesday? This last week? No, the one showing the interview.
Oh. Carl. Carl's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, there's been some good ones. This may become my favorite class to teach, I think. My one before this was Grow Your Database. I would always make people make phone calls in that and trick them. It was a game changer for most people. But I think this one will be a little more helpful. So before we dive in too much, well, let me tell you what we're talking about today. Follow up with leads, right? So we're not being the expert. We're done with lead generation. We're following up with leads before we dive into the transaction. So we're going to learn lead conversion, how to convert to an appointment, improve conversion rates, and that's really it. So before we dive into this, what is a lead? Okay, so you've met them, they're interested, they don't have an agreement with you. Is everyone on that same page? Anyone have a different definition? Ready, willing, and able. It sounds like you're Gary Keller. Yeah. Let's see. Trey, you got something different than us? Let's see. Somewhere. I literally was just looking at this and I thought I should put a bookmark in this. Oh. So Gary Keller says a lead is only a lead if you have captured the person's contact information. If you can't call them, email them, write them, or drop by their home or office to set an appointment, it's not a lead. So Gary Keller's definition of a lead is anyone that you have their contact information. Anyone. Isn't that crazy? Because we were like ready, willing, and able, which was pretty close to you, Alex, that I already forgot how you defined it. But so it is anyone that you have their contact information. And I would say, because this book was written early 2008 or something like that, social media was not a big thing when he wrote this. So you could even like friend someone on Facebook to connect with them, right? I would say that that's probably more normal than dropping by someone's office. Hey, I know you work here. Will you talk to me? So a lead's probably just almost anyone. So kind of keep that in your mind. We need contact information, but besides that, a lead is a lead. So the effort you give to converting leads must match the effort you give to generating them. In an ideal world, how much time do you spend generating leads every day? All day? That's all Alex is doing right now. How about when you have things going on? Clay Winder, how much time do you think he spends lead generating every day? So a couple hours. How much do you think he spends lead follow-up in? Yeah. Yeah, I think Clay, he goes through these phases. where he's like, I don't have enough business, so it's like all lead generating, and then he's got all these leads, so then he moves into all this lead follow-up without stopping lead generation. Like he never stops, but it's like if he has 3 hours, maybe it's 50-50 some of the times, maybe it's like 75-25, and it shifts back and forth. So you really, the way to make it in real estate is, number one, you generate the lead, but then number two is you have to have this crazy follow-up. There's this saying, and I always get it wrong. Let's see, lead generation will make you rich. Lead follow-up will make you wealthy. Does that sound better? Is wealthy better than rich? Okay, then maybe I got it right. Who's hosted an open house? How many times have you talked to someone where they're like, I don't think I'm ready yet, or this isn't the house? Yep. So if you never could follow up with a person again, but like, let's just use open house as an example. You walk into an open, or you sit in an open house, someone walks in, the only thing is you're working with them right now or you're not. How difficult does your life become? You get zero follow-up with them. You don't end up making the amount of money as if you were to spend some time on lead follow-up. It's huge. So here's our little model that we're going to follow. So many little things up here. Get rid of that. Okay. Consistently getting every possible appointment from the leads you generate isn't complicated, but it does require preparation, practice, and purposeful action. So here's what we're going to do. Number one, you need to capture people's information. From there, you need to connect with them. If you don't close them, you need to cultivate them. If you do close them and then they don't go anywhere, you need to cultivate them some more. This cultivate is where a lot of people get lost. I will give you a prime example with me. I had a listing, probably closed 4 months ago. I got 2 very good leads by accident. I have no idea where they came from. They called me on the phone and they're like, hey, we want to see your house. Both of them happened when it was already under contract. So I was like, oh, it's under contract, but I have this awesome program where I have an aggressive way to go find you a great deal. This is the Clay Winder See It First script, by the way. What we could do is we could sit down in my office, go through what that looks like, and then go out and find you a deal. Sound great? The first one said, that sounds awesome. And then they're like, let me talk to my husband. And they never got back to me. I called them a few times. They flaked me. The other one said, I actually have a townhome to sell. We're trying to decide if we should sell or not. I'm like, well, let me come by your townhome and see what it would be worth so you know how much money you can put down on your next property. And we can kind of go from there and then get aggressive buying. Same kind of story. Let me go talk to my spouse. I followed up a few times, nothing. What do you think are happening with these people? Like the one with the townhome. She was pregnant, by the way. Had 2 kids, pregnant with the third, townhome, probably out of room. I almost bet they sold their house already. I have missed out on that because I failed at this cultivate. I captured her lead somehow, probably like a sign call or because I had a listing. We connected, we had a great conversation. I did not close her. She was not quite ready for this. So then she should have been hanging out in this cultivate stage, and I did not do my part enough to get her to become a closing. So let's get purposeful about this. And I clicked off of my clicker. So we have possible business, we have profitable business, or probable, and then we have profitable. The possible business, this is when you just have people out there. You meet them at open houses, like it's possible that they buy or sell, right? The probable are the people that are like, hey, I need to sell. This lady, she's like, we have a townhome, I'm pregnant, we have too many kids, we need out of this. That is probable business. Then profitable, these are the people that you take all the way to the point that they convert. What questions do you have about lead generation? Learn lead conversion. It skips through that so fast. I have so many other things I want to talk about and actually even practice. Do you have more questions about learning lead conversion? Yes.
So what is a good lead? Because in the last
Yes.
I've gone from like working with people who are like total scammers to working with wholesalers, and like now I've kind of figured out that really what we should be focusing on is like house people who want to buy houses, like townhomes. I don't even know what condos, like what we can do with condos and stuff like that. Like, where is our margin of what we should be really focusing on?
That is a great question. So, where to focus? What's a good lead? So, Gary Keller and Faye call this someone that's ready, willing, and able. And so that's the broad, and you got to kind of bring this down. So, like investors, they're often ready and willing, but then they lack the funds, so they're not able. Maybe they have the funds, maybe they want to do it, but they just like, they're not here, they're not around, they're not spending the time, so they're not able. Those kind of things. So you have to do that. Now, the scammers, they're going to be a little bit easier to find because they typically head to like WhatsApp and things like that. If you have not have a voice-to-voice conversation, I don't like those kind of people. If you can't find them on social media, if they won't text you with a real phone, like that's almost not real. WhatsApp is not a way that we communicate. Also, it's where you get the leads. If you get a lead on your KW website and you have never posted your KW website out there to the world, then that is not real. If it's Facebook, you know that they're a real person, that's where you just have to decide like, how much effort am I going to have to put in and what effort are they willing to put in? Like it's a give and take kind of there. So like you had that investor that's like, I don't want to put down any earnest money. Well, me as a seller, I would never accept an offer that doesn't have earnest money because earnest money makes it real. If you go past your due diligence deadline and you're like, I cancel, then I'm going to keep your earnest money. If you get all the way down to settlement and decide, hey, I don't want to close, I keep your earnest money. If you have given me $0, like as a buyer, you have an out at any point. So I'm like locking up the house with no security. So that scares me. So you'll get better at knowing what's real and what's not. But I would just, and we'll have a lot of this in there, is ask a lot of questions, get to know them. Financing is a huge thing. Where are you getting your money? When do you want to move? Why is that? It's really harder with investors because some of those sound real and they're not real. But normal people will be like, oh, I need to get a loan, or I have a rich uncle that's just going to buy me a house. When you meet those people, introduce me. I want to know, I want to have friends with rich uncles. So as we go through this, you'll just start to get better at it. You'll just know who's real and who's not. But internet leads are the ones you need to be wary of. Those are usually, they could more likely not be real. And so then you just need to think like, if I were to spend all of my time, energy, and effort on this person, what are the chances that I get a closing and make it worth it? And if it's not their money or they're not getting a lender, it's really hard to do it. They're like not a real investor. Real investors have money. And if they're like, oh, I have access to money, I would dive pretty deep onto that to see how. You know, if like they just have an investor pool that they're going to raise money and then from that investor's like, maybe that's real. I don't know. But if they're like, oh no, I'm going to get the deal together and put it over to my investors, that's not real. That's more like a wholesaler. And that's not good way to go about it, because then it's like you are making money as an agent, they're trying to make money, and they're trying to plug in their ultimate last person. Like there's too many people trying to make money off of it. Where if that investor just did a little bit of work and called you, they could cut out this wholesaler person. Or if they could get to the seller directly, they'd cut both of you out and make more money. So it gets so messy. The more people involved, the worse. So if it's like one person that has money or like can even get hard money loan, something like that, a normal loan, then that's probably a good investor. If they have to go out and get other investors to bring money in, they're just looking for a crazy deal. If you find a crazy good deal, you should be able to sell it all over the place. That's the harder thing to find, is a crazy good deal, not the buyers for the crazy good deal. Okay, when I'm talking about converting, I want to convert to an appointment. Think we have a quote? Nope, it's coming. So capture. This is our first one. We are going to collect the minimum amount of valid contact information of a potential buyer or seller. When it is a buyer, what is the minimum amount of information you should collect? Let's just assume you know their name. That's phone number. Anything else? Email? Yeah. Seller, I would want their address, but as a buyer, I don't really care where they live. I mean, I care, but I don't need their exact address. Do you need anything else? So when you're hosting an open house, you are capturing those leads, right? We're gonna ask their name, their email, and their phone number, and are we good? Yeah, what more would you want? Yeah, do you have an agent or not? That's a good one. What else are you guys thinking? Yeah, find their motivation. That'd be great. So you can use one of these kind of conversation frameworks. A lot of the times when you're just capturing leads, you can just ask people. Like if you are in an open house, you can just hand them a clipboard and say, sign in. And then when they hand it back and you realize they didn't put their phone number, you're like, oh, what's your phone number? People will just tell you. Or you could do something like this. If I were need to contact you, what would that number be? Very like, oh, like I'm not going to reach out a whole bunch. But if I did need to, if I found exactly what you were looking for, how would I contact you? If I found out that information you were wanting, how would I get to you? Just very simple. If you could only get one piece of information, I would get their phone number. You can call them, you can text them, you can do an entire real estate transaction just with that. Email, it cuts you off a little bit because some people never check their email. You could be filtered out as spam, you could be blocked, they would never even have to tell you. And if you send an email and they don't respond, you don't have like more of an email. But like you can text them if they don't respond, you can call them. If you call them and they don't respond, you can text them. Like you have more control with the phone number. So I would default to always get a phone number. Next, connect. Embed your value proposition in every conversation. Role play and practice this. Know your outcomes you want from a conversation before starting. Use questions to lead the conversation. So let's talk about an open house real fast. Nope. Let's move to these, and then we'll come back. You can't know or predict when they will come to a decision, but if you're reconnecting with them in a systematic way, you'll have a great chance of being there when they do. That's when you will be able to close for an appointment. So let's imagine a buyer comes in your open house and they're like, yeah, we're just starting the process. Our lease is up in 4 months. When are they going to buy a house? Two or three? What else? What do you guys think? Is Alex right? They're gonna buy it 2 or 3 months. Right after, so like 4 to 5 months. I can guarantee that they will not buy a house in 4 months. I've never met a person that has told me when they're gonna buy and been right about it. Are they lying to you? I think they're lying to themselves. They don't know when they're actually gonna buy or sell. So if someone tells you 4 months, when should you contact them next? Often. Yeah. I always think if you're going to close within 6 months, I need to talk to you at least every month. If you're going to close within 3 months, I need to talk to you every other week. If you're ready now, I need to talk to you every single week. Kind of an idea. Now, the conversations that you have might change that. Someone might be 6 months out, and then you call them and they ask all these questions and are trying to get ready and things like that. And so this cultivate phase, it is the hardest to predict. So let's say someone says they're going to buy a house in 4 months. You wait 3 weeks and you call them and they don't answer. What should you do next? When? What's your next task? So you waited 3 weeks, you called them and they didn't answer. Do you leave a voicemail? So you shoot them a text instead. They don't respond to either. What's your next step?
More value somehow.
Like what? What you thinking? When would you do that? So you 3 weeks in, you did a call and a text.
How interested they are. Like if you know it's time sensitive, then I do it like on a weekly basis or like a basis or something like that. Just maintain consistency.
Yeah. So they don't respond to you. You wait 3 more weeks, do it again. They don't respond, wait 3 more weeks, keep doing it again. Now, this is after you connected, right? An open house, you had a conversation. Not a bad plan. Everyone okay with that? You want to do a different plan?
Is there a better plan?
Probably. So let me take you through this little, well, wait, let's talk about closing and then I'll go through this. Oh, quiz time. When asking for an appointment, which format do you think is most effective? Why? Yeah, I like that. People don't say no to your face very often. What about a phone call? You guys said that before you saw the in-person. Why is a phone call better than a text or an email? Yep. Yeah. I think yeah, it's like that levels of communication. There's like that pyramid. The very best is like an in-person one-on-one, then maybe a group scenario, then the phone call. Then you move down to text message and email and stuff. So voice to voice is ultimately the best. What if they have an objection? If you're in person or on a phone call, you can almost like hear that, see that, overcome that. What if you send them a text message? Like, do you want to meet up? We can work out a plan to get you to this right house. They can just be like, no. Or ghost you. But if you're having this conversation on the phone, they're not just going to be like, hang up. If they say no, you can be like, oh, well, tell me a little bit more. And you can start to flush that out. So let's talk a little bit about this cultivate. There's this intermediate step. I want the whole picture. Oh my goodness, I gotta go back this far. So with internet leads, there's this whole little side step over here where you capture their leads and you have not connected with them. And you just need to try to figure out like you would like to connect. I've heard 3 different plans that people do for this. One is called the 4 Days of Love. It sounds really nice. It is a series of calls and texts, but all of them are like, it's pretty gimmicky. It's like you leave a message and I'd be like, hey, Alex, this is Cameron. Could you, and you just hang up. And that's the message that you leave. So I said your name So you know that it was for you, but then the message gets cut off. Whole goal is for you to call me back. You send a text message that says something like, hey, is this Alex? And then nothing else. Someone's like the most popular response is, yeah, who's this? And then boom, you know that they're real. That's half of it. With internet leads, you want to know, are they real? On the email, you send something out like, hey, I just found a list of houses. I think this one is like a ridiculous deal. And you put a link in there, but then you make the link not actually work. So like you take out like periods or spell something wrong or something like that. So when they click it, it goes nowhere. And then they're like, hey, I got your email. Your link didn't work. And you're like, you're real. You're real. All very gimmicky, but it's that. So for 4 days, you do weird things like that to try to get them to just say that they're real. That's the whole idea. So then you can connect with them. So that's the 4 days of love. The other one that we ran for a long time on the Red Sign team was called the 10 Days of Pain. It is a call, text, or email every single day for 10 days. You start with all three. You call them. If they don't answer, you text them. If they don't respond, you send them an email. That's day one. And then every other day is a call text. And you just alternate it off for 10 days. And you sprinkle in emails throughout that because people don't respond to emails. Spoiler alert. Everyone in a conversion, they try to like create these best emails. You could go into command right now and run smart plans and find these, and it's going to be a series of emails. We tracked this for a long time with thousands of leads, and 75% of appointments were set by phone calls. 24% of appointments were set by text message, and 1% by emails. But what's the easiest thing to do? Send out the same email over and over and over. Then what's the next easiest? Copy and paste the text over and over and over. So you can create a system around these. The hardest, most time consuming is the phone call, but it is also the most effective. If you could show up and see them in person, like that's going to be way more effective. You track them down, you knock on their door and be like, I'm here. Like, you're not talking to me. Let's have this conversation. Then the third one that we ran for a while was called the 21 Days of Gain, right? Not pain, but gain. And it was a series of calls and texts. You start out similar to the 10 Days of Pain, where you do all three the first day, and then it's kind of an every day you do something, but it's like call, text, email, and you don't do anything on the weekends. And they all work. Spoiler alert, every single one of them works because the whole goal is that you are just reaching out so much that someone is just inclined to reach back out to you. And so then you are connecting with them somehow. When you connect, we'll go through those questions. Your whole goal is to close to an appointment. That's what you want. No matter what they want to do, you want to close to an appointment. They're like, hey, I'd love to go see this house. Great. Let's meet in my office and we can talk about that and then go see the house. All about an appointment. It has been this way for years, but now it makes it even easier because we need a buyer-broker agreement signed before we go see houses. Even with sellers closing to an appointment, that's a great question. Let me come over to your house and we can chat about that. You want to get in person with all of this. If that doesn't work, we're just cultivating over and over and over, and we'll lay out a plan. So as you're connecting, they talk about 6 connection questions. Who are they? What do they want or need? Where do they want or need to do it? Why do they want or need to do it? When do they want or need to do it? And how do they plan to do it? So let's do a little role play for a second. So who wants to be a lead? Okay, Alex, you're my lead. Let's imagine we met at an open house. It was crazy busy. So you and I didn't even really have a conversation. Like I said hi to you. I said, oh, you got to make sure you check out the master bathroom. They just redid it. You went through it. You came and you're like, hey, that master bathroom was awesome. I actually got to go run. Let's connect sometime. And you were just kind of being nice, and then you left. I've called you a couple of times, and then we finally get on the phone like a week later. Let's call it 5 days. So it's a Friday. We're on the phone. Okay. Ooh, I'm nervous now. What am I gonna say? How should I start the conversation? You guys tell me before I go. What should I say first? Well, what would you guys say? You've called Alex twice. He didn't answer. Now it's a Friday and you call him. It's been 5 days since you met him in person. I guess that's 6 if it's Friday. What's the first thing that you say?
Hey man, you're hard to reach.
You're hard to reach. I like that.
I did one. It was like a friend where we couldn't talk for like 2 weeks. We finally called and I was like, "Hey, you're harder to reach than the president, man." And so, had a good conversation.
I like that. I wanted to highlight this. How many times do we have conversations with people in real life and it's just like normal? Like if you needed to call your dentist, like it wouldn't be weird. You call your mom, it's like normal. You call a friend, it's normal. Call any sort of business, it's normal. But then as soon as you go to call like a lead, you're just like, oh my goodness, and you stop being a person. So, okay, you can be a person. So I call Alex. Alex, what's up? How's it going, man? Good. Hey, it's Cameron from Keller Williams. We met at the open house. Remember the other day that you had to run out? Sweet. Well, okay, I just wanted to check in. That house already went under contract. Did you love it? Dang it. Well, we missed out on it. They already accepted an offer. Well, maybe tell me a little bit about your scenario and let's see if we can find something else that you're interested in. Like you said you love this. Like what's getting you thinking of moving right now? Yep, go. Oh, it's for your sister then, or for you. Okay, you should be in real estate. Look at you shopping for your sister. I like this. No, we can keep running with this. Um, okay, so your sister, how long has she been looking for? Okay, is she moving here soon? Okay, probably when you find her the right house, she's here. Okay, are you happy that she's coming? Okay, good, good. You're shopping for a house. You probably are. Is this the area that she's looking? Okay, that how come?
I live, brother, and her family.
Perfect. And you said, and we already kind of timeline. Price range, where's she falling? Could she go a little bit higher or the max? Okay, yeah. Has she talked to a lender yet? This one's harder when it's like a proxy person, but same kind of an idea. So does she just have you running around looking for houses for her, or does she have anyone else helping? Just you, cool. Have you talked to any other agents, or are you just kind of starting the process? Sweet. What's bringing her to Utah?
Like, and, lots of family are around.
I love that. You know what? It might be best if we even get us three, like whether it's on like a Zoom or a FaceTime call or something, so we can get like exactly what she's looking for, how you can help, and then how I could actually go find that and get that all lined up for you. Like if this last house that you saw was great, great houses go fast. And so we could just quickly meet up for 15, 20 minutes, put a game plan in place. And then you and I can even go shop if she's ever in town. We can do that. We can send her videos. How does something like that sound? Okay, let's do it. So, I like these connection questions. I'm more of a fan of the thing that's called LTP Mama. It's a great little acronym for me to remember. Where do you want to live? What's your timeline? What price range? What's your mortgage? Do you have an agent? What's the motivation? And then let's set an appointment. Yes.
That's if they already have a mortgage.
Yep. The most basic is, do you need a mortgage or are you going to buy this house in cash? And then the follow-up question to that is, have you talked to anyone? Yep. Because if they have a lender, then they already have kind of a game plan. If not, you can even add more value by giving them a lender. If they do, they're like, oh no, I talked to a lender. You could be like, are you like good friends with this? Like, do you know them well? Because if not, I have a few other lenders. You could shop that lender and get the best rate. But if it's your best friend, I don't want you to shop your best friend and make them all mad, kind of a thing. So you can ask more questions about this. The challenge is making this feel like a conversation and not an interrogation. Because you could very easily be like, where do you want to move? When do you want to move there? What price are you going to be? And I just added another question just to show how that is. Like, could she go higher than that? Like, just wondering, as we're kind of putting our ceiling here, like there's a lot of good things. So sometimes you might not throw in questions. Sometimes you might kind of talk about where you're going there, right? Like, oh, you have a lender, you talk to a lender, like, would you want a second opinion, shop around, or is it someone like a good friend? Oh, it's a good friend. Yeah, I don't want you shopping them, and just make sure they give you a great rate or whatever. Have you talked to any other agents? Have you seen any other houses? Where are you at in the process? If they've seen a house, they have to have a buyer broker agreement now. Very simple. We used to ask, have you written any offers? Because to write an offer, you need a buyer broker agreement. Now it's to see a house, you need a buyer broker agreement. So, oh, have you seen any other houses? If he says, oh yeah, I've been to some few open houses. Well, then I know other agents have this same person's contact information, but he does not have an agreement signed probably. So I might ask like, oh, have you met with any of them? I'm even pre-framing where I want to go. Have you met with any of them? And he'd be like, no, why would I meet with someone? Oh, it's because that's the next step. Let me help you with that. Motivation, this is the biggest one. If you can define really location, timeline, and price, this is like what you need to go search. Motivation is the most important. You are going to tap into that motivation over and over and over again. Right? With this scenario, like, oh, my sister's moving back here. Where's your sister going to go? She moves here and doesn't have a house. Or will your sister even get here if we can't find her a house? Like, we're starting to tap into that motivation and making it like a little more urgent, a little more real. And then all of this should conclude with you setting an appointment. Questions on this?
Can I run another quick scenario past you?
Yep.
So yesterday I had an open house. This couple came in and they signed in. I have their phone number and only their last name, I think.
Uh-huh.
And they asked me to questions on the house, so I sent them answers last night. Now, I'm based off of what you're saying here, I would call them and do this, right?
Yep.
That's,
And to be honest, you don't need to go through all of these every single time. Some you might want to dive real deep into some of these, and others you might not. For example, location, like you might say, like, where would you want to, if you could move, where would you want to move? And if they say vineyard, your next question should be, oh, how come? And sound curious like that. If you're just like, why? Then they might be like, oh, like, feel like I'm being interrogated. But if you're like, oh, interesting, how come? Like, you're like curious about it. Like, stay curious. And then if they say, oh, well, I want to stay 10 minutes from my office. Let's just assume this is the office. Where else could you live that's 10 minutes from here? They mentioned Vineyard. You got Olive Orem for sure. AF, Linden maybe, PG. You got all of this north. Could you get down to Provo? No one wants to be in Provo. Let's be honest. Wait, who lives in Provo? Good. No one wants to live in Provo. I don't know why Provo's cool, guys. It's like you get off the freeway and you're in the worst part of Provo, and then you have to drive to the mountains and through traffic to get anything good in Provo. Where like Orem, you're just like, you get off the freeway and you're like, oh, everything's awesome in Orem. Like all the way the rest of Utah is that way. Like you get off the freeway and you're like, oh, it's pretty nice right here. And then, oh, it's nice in the mountains as well. Great. But Provo's like, oh, this is kind of ghetto. And then you drive to the mountain, you're like, oh, finally it's nice, but it took me 20 minutes to get here. So get to know them. The more that you know, the better off you're going to be. Quick note on that. You should build a relationship with them, which is a little bit give and take, but it's all about them, right? The classic How to Win Friends and Influence People book, you don't ask questions about them to tell stuff about you, but you can definitely give some things. If someone's like, oh, I would love to live in Riverton, I'd be like, oh, that's crazy. That's where I live. What part are you looking in? We just became a little bit closer, and I'm still just asking questions about you. Half a line that I'm like, oh, I live there. If they want to know more, they're going to ask me more. If they're just like, I don't care about you, then they're just going to breeze and keep talking about themselves. Sometimes they'll just breeze and keep talking about themselves and be like, that was a great conversation. It's like, yeah, because you just talked about yourself the whole time. People love that. So start to get to know them. You can throw in here, but you're not going to be like telling your whole story. When it's like, oh, do you have a lender? It's like, hey, I'm really good friends with this lender, and he's like a nice guy. We went to casino night the other night, and like you start like telling your whole story. They don't care. They don't care about that. You're getting to know them, but build a relationship. All right. I don't know why this is a quote, because this confuses me every time. In the end, if they can meet and have a good enough reason to meet, they will meet. And if they don't, they won't. And that's okay. You really don't care what their answer is ultimately is because you're not getting people to do anything they don't want to do. You're just going to ask and respond until they agree that the meeting with you makes sense, or it doesn't. Either way, you both win. Gary Keller, being very Gary Keller right there. Yes. So if I get all the way through all of these questions and I'm like, hey, Alex, what if we set up a Zoom for us three so we can all get on the same page? You know what you can best do to help your sister. I know how to best help both of you, and we can build a game plan to go forward. And he says, I don't know if she'll go for that. Is that a bad thing? No. Gary Keller says no. What's missing there? It's one of two things. Yeah, it might be timing. They might not be ready. Or number two, you might not have presented your value well enough. I guess the third thing there is they could have some objection. There could be some reason that they are not moving forward for something else, right? Like if I said, have you gone and seen any other houses? And he said, no, I'm going to assume he doesn't have an agent. What if another sibling is an agent? What if their cousin, his best friend, someone else just happens to be an agent? Like, I didn't get that information. So then when I go for the appointment, he's going to be like, no. And he's going to be like, well, why not? And maybe you just ask him. Like, I don't know. Like sometimes I'll even be like surprised. I'll be like, oh, that's so weird. Usually everyone's just excited to meet with me and build out a game plan. Why are you not like everyone else kind of a thing? Like almost be like, why? Like this never happens to me, I promise. So it could be as easy as that, or it might be a deeper rooted cause, or like you mentioned, it might be the wrong time. And so it might be one of those things that I pop you back into this cultivate. And then I would reach out. Hey, no pressure. I'm easygoing. I just want to help you. When you're ready, let me know. I'm going to check back in a few weeks. Yep. In that scenario, I want the like ultimate person. So for sure. Wait, let's talk about ahas real fast.
What stood out to me was closing an appointment. That's, I never thought about that.
Yep.
I was always like, oh, I want to close this deal. Closing the appointment is like a huge one.
That's, to me, that's the only thing you have to be a salesman for, or saleswoman, is getting an appointment. Well, and then get them to work with you. But past that, is this house right for you? No? Okay, bye. Let's go to the next one. Yeah. Write things down. What else? Keep going. That was a good one. Any other ha-has?
Conversation, not interrogation. Just a lot of practice and being fluid and not having like, not sounding like it's a script even though it's a script.
Okay. We're gonna do something real quick. You guys are gonna try to set an appointment. So partner up however you guys want. Let's see. One or two, Alex? It's a two. So you're an agent. Trey, do you want to pick or do you want Ivan to pick? Okay. One or two? It's a two. You're an agent. Two all around. I actually switched it right before I asked you because I was nervous. I was like, I can't be different. Okay. So you two are the agents. We're going to run a same scenario. You met at an open house. You end up connecting. So let's just say you ran an open house on Saturday. It's Monday. You call them to set an appointment. Okay, close your eyes. Oh, well, not Faye and Trey, because you guys are the buyers. I'm going to give you guys an objection that they need to overcome to set the appointment. If they overcome this, you're going to say yes to an appointment. If they don't mention it, you're going to say no. Can you read this? Is that okay? All right. Okay, have your conversations, however that looks. Run your LTP mama, run. You want to do it as a group?
Are they different objectives for each?
Nope, they have the same objection for both of them.
My whole thing is the intro, so I got to go forward. What's the reason why?
Do you want to know, so Phil M. Jones, exactly what to say. When he says that you call someone, you should say, like how does he put it? A pleasantry? Like a hello, how are you? A mutual agreeable fact. And then why you are calling. That's his framework. So the mutually agreeable fact, it sounds difficult to come up with, but it could be as easy as, we met at the open house. That is a mutually agreeable fact. And then you can just say, I'm calling to follow up, or see if you like the house, or to tell you that this house received an offer and see if you want to find something in the same area. Something like that. Yeah, phone call.
I don't know if this is their first thing or the last thing. Hey Collier, this is Alex. I met you at the open house on Saturday. Do you remember me? Yes, we chatted a little bit about the house. I just followed up a little bit to see if you liked it and if you got the information about this question. Is there anything you didn't like about the house?
I don't want to fill it in on that.
Are you looking in those areas?
idea that you have like a vendor.
You really want, why do you like the video? I know I saw you at the open house, but what kind of time frame are you looking? Are you just visiting and checking things out, or are you looking to kind of put an offer on a house while you're here? 3 to 4 months, that's pretty quick. I would see other locations. So do you already have an agent that you're working with? Yeah. Okay, that's my wife.
Yeah, and not to ask you, are you guys buying together or buying?
Now I have to transition, sorry.
This is why we're doing it like this. You don't, you just have it. You have the objection until they figure it out. So if he tries to set an appointment, you'll probably say no or be worried about it because of your objection. But if he never tries to set the appointment, then you're just going to say bye at some point. Thanks for calling me, I guess. Did she give it? The-
I know you want to I'll buy you. Do you like tacos? I'd love to buy you some.
Oh. Oh, she's so mean to you. All right, come on over here. Let's talk about this. Not yet. Not yet. Okay, so did you try to set an appointment? What did she say?
Because you said to say no if they didn't.
Yeah. Yeah, she has an objection.
So I needed to figure out what the objection was.
Yeah.
Asking directly was not helpful.
So if someone has a real objection, how does that come out? Usually.
As a no.
Do you want to see it yet? Should I make you wait longer? I don't think I'll qualify because of credit.
Yeah, it was tough because after trying to set the appointment, I don't even know if they want to work it. That one-on-one, they're not even supposed to fix it.
Yeah. How do you overcome that? How about that? Let's start there and then we'll go back to how to find it. How would you overcome that objection? Someone straight up said like, I don't want to meet because I don't think I'll qualify because of my credit.
That lender had crazy that first time home buyers came.
Yeah.
All those little programs you could do, and they can work with anybody pretty much down to 500 credit score.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you're that low, you got issues.
If you're below 500, you're just not going to own a house.
Below 500, you're doing something
Yeah.
not right.
You're scamming someone. Yeah. Yeah. I have a lender that works with people with credit below, or as long as it's above 500, he can get someone a loan. Yep, great credit. They just don't have enough. There's two types of objections. There's an actual objection that is a obstacle that you have to overcome, and there is a smoke screen that seems like an objection that's not really an objection. With smoke screens, you just keep going. So if they're like, you know what, I don't think I make enough money. And if you're like, you make like $150,000 a year and you're great with money, you don't have any debt, like, I think you could get this house. You can just be like, well, if you were to move, where would you go buy? And they'll just keep talking and it's like it never happened. If it's a real objection, it will come up over and over again. If that ends up happening, then you have to figure out, like, how do we overcome this? So with not enough income, it is, we need to make you more money. Like, let's switch jobs, get you a promotion, ask you for more money, or ask for more hours. Let's get you a raise somehow.
Make that change. They didn't pick up the hours a week now, they're making good money. Do they
Yep.
have to have a history of income?
Nope. So when you get a loan, they do, it's called a verification of employment, VOE. And their employer will fill out how much money they have made for the past 2 years. So it's 2 years ago, how much did they make last year, how much did they make, and then how much have they made year to date. And then there's a couple of questions like, when was their last pay increase, how much was it for, when was their last hour increase, and then are they likely to stay unemployed and at the current rate. So if they say, yep, they're gonna still have a job and it's still gonna be at this rate and hours and everything, then they should be good. Yeah.
Can like my dad fill that out? If he hires me basically. Or
Are you a W-2 employee? I don't think so. I wonder if you were a W-2 employee, if you could buy a house. That would be an interesting way to set it up. You have to pay payroll taxes and all of that, so you get less money. He has to pay more in taxes for you, but then if it makes you qualify, then maybe you could buy houses that then you guys could flip. That would be interesting.
I guess it's just like a timing thing. 'Cause,
I'd talk to a lender to see how that works, because you don't own the business, you work in the business, and they don't care about anything about the business. Because I always thought was crazy. They don't like call the business owner and be like, what are the chances that you go out of business right now? Is this your only employee? Like, they don't care about anything like that. So if you had a W-2 income from him, you could qualify based off of that. So then it'd just be like him talking to an accountant and seeing what would be the best way to set something like that up. Interesting. But you can't, if you pay yourself a W-2 income, that doesn't count. Yeah. But because you're not an owner, that would count. So there are 10 different types of closes. This is not in the slides. I should have added a whole slide for it. I'm looking at the book Shift, by the way, which there is a whole chapter. What do they call this chapter? Getting to the table, lead conversion. Because why do you want to get to the table? Do you guys know the stat? If you meet with a buyer or a seller, what are the chances that you are that person's agent? You're the very first one to meet with them. It's even higher than that. 75% of people go with the first agent that they meet with. So if you can get to the table before anyone else, 3/4 of the time you make money and another agent doesn't. So these 10 closes. The first one is a hard close. This is as simple as, let's meet, right? If we're closing for the appointment. The soft close, something like, I've really enjoyed visiting with you. Would you like to get together and discuss this further? A direct close would be like, can you meet today? The indirect close would be, would it be okay if I got some information to look over and then we can meet to discuss? The trial close would be, have we gone over enough today that meeting would be our next step? Assumptive close, it sounds like we should meet. I'm available most times this week. When works best for you? Negative positive would be, would you be offended if I asked you if we could meet to go over this? The take back, I've really enjoyed meeting with you. To be honest, I'm not sure if I can help you out or not, but I'd be honored if we could meet to find out. A tie down would be, wouldn't it make sense for us to meet in the next day or so? The alternate choice, what works better for you, meeting today or sometime tomorrow? Which of those resonated with you and sounds like something that you would do? I'm an assumptive close. I'll like have these long conversations going through that LTP mama and be like, you know what? It sounds like we should meet. Can you get together tomorrow? Or even when can you get together? Some people are like, give them like Thursday or Friday kind of thing. It's like, no, let's meet. Sounds like we should meet, right? They're like, we should.
The, hey, I'm free most days. It's most likely because I'll literally make time for
Yeah. So you could work on a lot of these and get some scripts and dialogues of how you would close someone to an appointment. Again, Philip Jones, exactly what to say. He says that you should focus on what to say in key moments, right? So our whole conversation, LTP mama, most of that doesn't really matter. But a key moment would be asking for the appointment. So how do you go from like gathering information, having this conversation to setting the appointment? That's really where you want to go. And so that might be like the key moment that you work on. And if you're realizing that you keep hitting in roadblocks before that, then it was your conversation before that you didn't flush something else out. Right? If you go through all the way through LTP Mama, be like, oh, have you talked to a lender? And they said no. Like that might flush out with the credit issue. Because you could then be like, okay, well, a lender's going to talk to you about income and credit to make sure you qualify. You worried about either of those? Like as simple as that. Credit and income. You worried about those? Oh, no? Great. Then let's have that conversation. Oh, you're worried about your credit? Wait, are you above a 500? Well, yeah, that's ridiculous because that's so low. What would you say, Trey? And then, and you're, oh, good. He has programs for people as long as you have above 500. Obviously, the better it is, the better the loan you can get. So let's see what it is. A lot of people don't even know their credit, by the way. Credit Karma, you guys ever do that? It's wrong. Whatever Credit Karma says is probably wrong. It's a good guess and helpful, but it's like Zillow for your house. Zillow doesn't know the value of my house, but it's a good guess, and I can track how it's going up and down over time. Same with Credit Karma, it's a good guess, and I can track how it's going up and down over time, but it's not right. So, all right. Improve your conversion rates. Time block, use systems and conversations, connect with your whole database, and prioritize qualified leads. On a scale of 1 to 10, everyone be 100% honest with me on this. How well are you time blocking time for lead generation and or lead follow-up? 10 being like, every day it is in my calendar and I do it for the exact amount of time there. And number 1 is, wait, I have a calendar and I should call people? How are you guys doing? Hold up your number. Be honest. There's no judgment in this room. 6, 4, 5, 0. Not even on the scale. If you are not time blocking to call and talk to people, you will never make it in real estate. Like you may get lucky. There are a handful of agents that are just like, yeah, my dad has all this real estate that he needs to liquidate. And then he's going to do a 1031 exchange and go buy a whole bunch of rental properties. And because I'm in real estate, I'm just going to do all of that for him. It's like, okay, you're the weirdo that gets to make money without ever prospecting. But you better do a good job because guaranteed if your dad has made that much money to get that real estate and then is going to switch it into other real estate, he's not doing it to be nice. He's doing it to make money. If you do a bad job, he'll go find a new agent. So you should time block. I would suggest every single day have a chunk of time that you are going to lead generate. This is you are going to talk to your database or people you don't know to go find leads. Then you should have a chunk of time to talk to every lead that you do have. However that shakes out, right? In the beginning, I said it might be 50-50. It might be like 80% you're trying to find the lead and 20% is following up with them, whatever that looks like. But if you are not doing this, you will not make money. And you won't be sitting in this room a year from now. So do that. Use systems and conversations. Circles turn to diamonds, it turn to circles, it turn to squares. Every single time. I don't know why that's the the graphic. If I would have done systems and conversations, like maybe gears make more sense to me, but I don't know. A system would be like the whole idea of the 10 days of pain, the 4 days of love, the 21 days of gain. Like if you wanted to do something like that to try to get in contact with someone, great. But it's like, you should look at your lead generation sources, right? You do open houses? Like, great, I got all of these leads. What do I do with them? Probably after the open house or while you're sitting there between people being in there, you should put all of those people in command, and then you should run some sort of game plan with them. So if that's like, I'm going to send them a text that afternoon, I'm going to call them on Monday, I'm going to send them an email with a whole bunch of houses on Tuesday, like whatever that looks like, I would do that over and over and over. I want you to think about a month ago of someone new that you met that you don't know their name anymore. Can you even think of a person that you met a month ago that you don't know? How about 1 week ago in team meeting? Did you meet someone that you still don't even know their name? Like, have you been sitting in this class and you're like, who's that one guy that comes, or who's that girl that's here every once in a while? How about Clay taught a class, then someone taught a class after him. Who was it? See? We forget a lot. Let's see. Who would be a good example on this wall of people? Oh, he taught a class. What's his name? Carl. Look at you guys go. Oh yeah, what's her name? Jen. Look at you guys go. He actually owns the brokerage. Have you met him? Have you seen him? Johnny. Let's see, who else is taught? Oh, she's taught a whole bunch. Yep. I think she taught. Angie. Who else is taught? A few of the people here. So you will meet these people and you will forget who they are. That happens to you as well. What do you think your lifetime or your life half-life? I don't know, that sounds too scientific. Of a lead is like, if you meet them on an open house on Saturday and you call them 3 weeks later, what do you think your chances are of like connecting with them? What if you call them like 3 months later? What are the chances they remember they went to an open house? And you're like, where did you get my information? You literally gave it to me at an open house. I've never been to an open house a day in my life. Like, yeah, you have. So I would front load all of this. My joke about this is real estate is not dating. So if you go on a date and you like someone, it's your first date, how long do you have to wait before you call them back? This is the next day. Is that the rule? I'm looking at you guys. You're all young. In my day, it was three days. You would go on a date and then you would wait 3 days and reach out to them. That was the unwritten rule. 3 days. Also, you had to pay for every text message you sent. So it was different. It was a little bit different. And you would call them. That was normal to call people. Very different. I imagine now you like Snapchat them the next day, a picture of your floor or something. Yeah, the Flintstones. Yeah. I showed that to my kids the other day. It was like randomly on TV at my in-laws' house. And I was like, you guys ever even seen this? This is like a big deal when I was little. So, real estate is not dating. It is not weird to call them. And when they don't call you, you call them. I have a whole bunch of text message threads that it's just me doing all the conversation. And you know what happens? randomly, they start talking back to me and we're going. There's some reason that they are not reaching out to me, but I don't know what that is because they're not reaching out to me. So in absence of that, I am just going to give them value and keep going forever. Do you know what happens once they buy a house, even if it's not with you? They'll be like, oh, hey, I bought a house. Stop calling me. And then you can stop. Or you can be like, oh, you know what? I'll just follow up in like 2 years when you need your next house. How much do you like your house already? Whatever that question is. There's this whole idea, and you've probably seen this because it is in another class, but if this is a 0% likelihood of buying a house, and this is 100% you're going to close on a house, there's this whole like ramp up, and then you buy a house, and then there's a 0% chance you're going to buy a house again. And then there's this period where it's like 0, but then it starts to go up again, and up again, and up again, and up again. And then they buy a house and it drops off again. Most real estate agents try to stay in this world where they're just talking to them as they get close. That's our whole idea with a lot of this lead follow-up. With your non-Mets, this is probably when you're going to meet them, right? You go to an open house, people that are down here don't go to open houses. People that are going up this, they go to open houses often. I mean, I guess every once in a while, some neighbors will come in that are not looking to sell. But when they're like more ready, they start to do things that are reasons. So they'll start to, if you have conversations with them here, great. Then you should have conversations with them here systematically, because then what happens when they get all the way up here? They don't need to find a new agent. You're their agent. So that's what this whole idea of being systematic with your conversations. So think back to other classes. What systematic communications do we have that you should be doing? Command. Yep, we got the neighborhood nurtures, the save searches. What else? Yep, DT, D2. Yep, just call them every quarter. That's my default. I put everyone on that. And if it's a lead and I'm like, gosh, I met this person at an open house 3 months ago, and I think I've called them a whole bunch, but I don't know where they're at. Boom, call them. Hey person, we met at an open house 3 months ago. We haven't been able to connect even though I've been reaching out. And I just wanted to reach out and see, are you still in the market to buy a house? It's a real question. You still looking to buy? I like texts better. So whatever I would say in the voicemail, I'll send a text. Sometimes I will. Yeah. Some people don't listen to their voicemails. Almost everyone looks at all of their texts. It's weird to see someone with like 50 unread text messages. Like, who are you? Who's like that? Who's that? You're like that? Oh my goodness. Unread texts? Oh my goodness. Who are you people? Number 3, connect with your whole database. Emphasis on the whole. So most people, when they get into real estate, you know who the first 10 people they call are? Their best friends and their closest family members. Do you know who is the most likely to buy or sell a house? Probably not them. There's this whole idea. They did this study on if you wanted to find a job called the weak ties. So they looked at people and where they found the job, and they realized that more people found a job from people that they didn't hang out with or weren't good friends with. Because think about it. So, and I relate this to real estate because our next job is our next closing. So we're constantly trying to find a job. So if you call your best friend, say, who do you know that wants to buy or sell a house? Who are they going to tell you? Their friends. But who are their friends? Your friends. Because you're all hanging out together. You're close. Now, let's say you call someone that you know and they know you, but you haven't talked to them in 5 years. Usually I say a decade, but you're also young. 3 years. 2 years, Faye. 5 years. What are the chances that their friends are your friends that you're gonna call next. Very unlikely. One time I called one of my buddies who I knew should buy a house. His name's Pookie. That's not his real name, but that's what we call him. His name's Ryan Christensen. We call him Pookie. I was like, Pookie, we should go out shop and find a house. And he's like, we should. Talk for a few minutes, try to make a plan. Anyway, I hung up with him. I called our mutual friend Casey, and I was like, Casey, who do you know that should be buying or selling a house right now? He's like, you know who you should call? Pookie. I was like, I just called Pookie. Who else? He's like, that's all I can think of. Hung up. Called our mutual friend Tyler. Tyler, who should I call? He said Pookie. Not Pookie. I already talked to him. He's like, I wonder if Casey would know anyone. Like, no, I just talked to Casey. Hung up. Called Jeff. Jeff, who should I call? Pookie. I'm like, no more Pookie. So then I hung up and I called someone that I hadn't talked to in 5 years. And he's like, you know what? I kind of want to buy an investment property right now. I'm like, thank goodness you're not saying call Pookie. So the further out you can get, it's a little bit weirder of a conversation because it's like, hey, I haven't talked to you in 5 years. Like, what's up? And they're always like, why are you calling me? And it might just be to catch up. Like, those are the best conversations you can have. It might be like, I'm in real estate. Who do you know? Looking to buy or sell? You should buy or sell. I don't even know where you live. Like, do you even own a house? Like, you could have those conversations, but that might be awkward. Maybe it's just building the relationship. Call your whole database, and some of them will convert. Because this friend knows this friend that knows this friend, but this friend might have a friend that has a friend that's way over here. Is this circle? I skipped that last one. Prioritize qualified leads. Every day when you get in with your time block, you should have a system of who to call next. I always think of this as, and I'll even write it out for you. In Command, I have set up smart filters, is what it's called. And you can do this very easily. So my number one is I call HOTS. And I name it 1 HOTS. So my filter is, I have a tag that's called HOTS. To me, a HOT is anyone that should be buying a house or selling a house right now. Now, my 1 HOTS, I set up for I haven't had a conversation in 7 days. No logged communication for 7 days. So then I know I need to talk to my HOTS every single week. If it's gone over a week, they show up in this, and that is my first priority. Then I do 2, nurture. And I want to talk to these people every 14 days. And then I go 3, watch. And I want to talk to these people every 30 days. 4 is the long term. And this is every 90 days. So if I meet someone and they're like, I want to buy a house in the next 6 months, that's a watch to me. You can name this 3 to 6 months. Some people name it that. I used to use a CRM that used watch as their thing. So then I say, great. And then I'm going to call them every single month. Hey, I'm just checking in. You mentioned to me you want to buy a house in 3 to 6 months. Is that still the case? Because again, that's not when they're going to buy a house. It's not going to be 3 to 6 months. It's going to be sooner. It's going to be later. It's never going to be their time. You might have others that you work in at a different things. So like new leads, if you are generating leads a separate way, that might be the number 2. And nurture might be number 3. That would make this 4 and 5. That says 2. That's not a fancy question mark. New leads, you might have your DTD2 worked in here. But if we have a game plan of what we're calling first, it's as simple as sit down and then click the number 1, number 2, number 3, all the way down. And you'll know who to call, and then you just move forward with them. Point my laser over there, see if they recognize that I'm here. So again, capture the information, connect with them to establish relationships, cultivate them if they're not ready for a close, and close by asking the appointment. I'm not sure why it's 1, 2, 3, 4 when this is 1, 2, 3, 4. Things that drive me nuts. Okay, what are your ahas? What did you learn? What do we need to do?
System. Figure out that back. System. Work of the systems.
Yeah.
Time block.
When you say what's the best time, do you mean like the time of day or? Oh, yeah. There is an agent that he runs this thing he calls Wednesday follow-up day. Every Wednesday, he calls every lead that he can. He starts down with the hots and he moves down to the long terms, and he sets himself 2 hours on Wednesday, and that's all he does. And he just goes straight through and calls them. So the hots, they get called every single week. The nurtures, if he talks to them, like he might never make it to the long term, but he's always calling the hots. He's moving them out of hots, and so then he'll have fewer leads, and then he'll make his way down to the long term. As he does that, his conversation is, hey, I'm just checking in, seeing how the home buying, home selling process is going. Where are we at with things? Are we still on a plan for this or whatever? Games plans change all the time, like crazy amounts. And so then when he hangs up, he says, cool, I'll give you a call next week, and just hangs up. He doesn't let him say like, no, don't call me. But he says, I'll call you next week, and hangs up. And then he just calls him next week. I thought that was a very interesting way, because then you're never going without a week. It's an easy system that's easy to implement. And most people never miss a Wednesday of work because it's a random weird day. Take Mondays and Fridays off. Holidays are on Mondays. Usually don't miss a Wednesday. So it's an easy thing. Or you can have like a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 type checklist in command. But however long you're thinking you should wait, I guarantee it's shorter than that. People aren't going to answer as often as you reach out, and that's okay. And my script that I stole from Clay is the hardest part of my job is matching your motivation. I want to run 100 miles an hour, but I don't want to seem pushy. So if you're ready to go, like nothing's going to hold me back. If you are not ready to go, I want to be waiting until you are. So if you ever feel like I'm running too fast, you let me know. If you ever feel like I'm not moving fast enough, let me know, because I'm trying to match your motivation, which is difficult. So tell me about it. And then people can just be open and honest. And then if you're reaching out too much, they can just be like, you're reaching out too much. Like, okay, sorry. I'm not being pushy. I'm ready when you're ready, type of an idea. What else? Were we doing ahas or questions? I already forgot what we were doing. Ahas and questions.
Part that I could do better on. Especially where I use that as an excuse that I could be been long enough.
We go through this debate often in the office of when we should do Ignite, because Gary Keller says you should do 3 hours of lead generation before noon. Well, we have Ignite 3 days a week. And that means that it's taking all of you out of this lead generation, lead follow-up, and it's taking whoever the instructor is out of the same thing. But we justify it saying that we want you in a habit of like 9:30 rolls around, you are doing real estate work. Right now it's learning, but when you graduate, that's going to shift into calling. And then maybe you're just going to be like, well, I'm used to coming in at 9:30 every day, so let's keep doing that on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then all of a sudden you're just generating leads. But what I would do is I would pick one time and do like something so easy, right? I just read this book, Atomic Habits, James Clear. You guys have ever read it? Super good. Great book to read. He talks about, he has 2 ideas for building a habit. One is called a tiny habit, something so easy that if you don't do, like it's almost ridiculous. The example is 1 push-up. If I want to do push-ups every single day, if I just, my goal is actually to do 1 push-up, What are the chances that I do more than one? Probably pretty high, because when I do one push-up, I feel goofy. I'm like, all right, I just like got down and did a push-up and now I'm done. But the whole idea is to build a habit. So you'd have like the same time every single day that you would do that push-up. Like I roll out of bed and I land right on the floor and I do one push-up. If I feel good, I keep going push-ups. If I feel bad, I'm done at one. But every day I do that. The alternative, he calls it the 2-minute habit. He says you're only allowed to do something for 2 minutes. And so he's like, you want to get a habit of going to the gym? It's actually not the going to the gym that's hard. It's the like getting on your shoes, your gym clothes, and then getting in the car and driving to that. That's the habit that you need. If you have that habit, then going to the gym becomes easy. So you go to the gym for 2 minutes. So like, I'm not suggesting you make 2 minutes worth of phone calls and call it good. But if you had like that kind of a habit that like at 9:30, I'm making my first phone call, and that was like your habit that you just got into, you would be better off in the long run. And then one day what happens is you turn into like this Clay Winder, Heather Groom, Jen Jorgensen, Courtney Nilsson kind of a concept where you are just talking to so many people throughout the day that it's just natural. Like if I were to ask most of the agents, like how much do you lead generate? They're going to say a very small number. The people that make a lot of money actually talk to a huge number of people. They just don't feel like they're lead generating. They don't feel like it's follow-up. They just happen to be talking to people, happen to be doing this. They'd be like, oh, I was just talking to so-and-so because they had questions. I'm like, most people call that lead generation. You're just calling it a conversation. So talk to people. Just talk to people, okay? Time block and talk to people. Can I say it more? That's the secret. That's the ultimate secret to real estate. If you don't make money in real estate, it's because you haven't talked to enough people. I've only ever met one person who I felt like talked to enough people, but didn't make money in real estate. And he was just really bad at talking to people. His name was John. He's a super nice guy, but he was like, he sounded like he didn't trust himself when he was on the phone, but it wasn't like he didn't trust like real estate or something. Like we would have like a movie event. We'd be like, hey, call your database, invite them to go to this movie. And he didn't sound like he was sure that the movie was going to happen when he was calling. And so like he wouldn't have anyone show up. He's like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I'm like, listen to yourself, dude. Like you sound like I don't know, but like I wanted to tell you, and I think that you want to come to this movie. And they'd be like, what? And so already all of you can speak better than he did. He just didn't have a way with words. Real estate was not his gift. So, okay, what else do we have here? Ahas and recap. We got nothing. So, what questions do you have about lead generation? How do we move forward from here? What are you guys going to go implement? Yes.
By the time I get home, I have a couple hours to work with. I also try and preserve time for like relaxing family stuff aside from important to-dos. So I'm like, how would we time block if we're still doing Ignite consistently? As simple as like just do it Tuesdays and Thursdays in the morning?
Yep, for sure do Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then start to get better at, I don't want to call it multitasking because that's a lie, but it's like when you're driving in your car, there's an agent that his whole lead generation strategy is when he's in his car, whoever he thinks of first that he hasn't talked to in a while, he calls. It's a horrible system and it works amazingly because he just talks to a whole bunch of people. And so his script is literally like, hey, I just jumped in my car and I just thought of you, so I thought I'd give you a call. And then he just has a conversation. Super easy because you shouldn't text and drive, so people are like, oh, that's why they're calling me. And that's like, I leave voicemails all the time, like, oh, hey, I'm just driving and thought of you, so I figured I'd give you a call. Sounds like you were probably doing something, so you didn't answer. Like, give me a call, shoot me a text or something, we'll catch up. And that will be like my whole thing. And I'll just call as many people as I can think of. But he does it like that's his whole lead generation that he does every time he's in a car. So you could do something like that. Go to lunches with people, one-on-one. Don't buy them lunches, but you can go to lunch with them. Because then you have to pay twice as much. Yeah.
I've been doing that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, I just always am like, let's go to lunch. You buy you lunch, I'll buy me lunch. We'll just hang out. We'll catch up. It'll be fun. And most people are cool with something like that. I do randomly have friends that are like, let me buy you lunch. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to buy you lunch next. So might as well just, you buy your lunch and I'll buy my lunch. And then we don't have to try to do this. But if you buy me lunch, I'm going to try to take you out to lunch in a couple months. And so doing things like that because you got to eat. There is this whole idea of just being present, I guess you could call it. Like, you know, you get invited to the weddings or your friends are like, ah, come out and do this, or having this birthday party or Halloween party coming up or whatever. It's like, just go to as many things like that as you can and just be there. So easy to stay at home and do nothing, especially when you get married. Get ready. Get ready.
Cards. I just bought a bunch of business cards, so I'm just gonna throw them in.
Please help me.
Exactly, yeah, please. I don't need any gifts.
In lieu of gifts, buy houses. Yeah. Well, and then you can do all of the classic things that new agents want to do, where they're like posting on social media and running an open house for lead generation. All of those things work. It takes a little more time, and you have to go back to the whole model. Like if you're posting on social media, you need to capture those leads somehow, and then you need to connect with them. So it's like if you post like, check this awesome house, and you like do a walkthrough of a new construction or something, it's like, where's your call to action? How are you going to get like any sort of engagement so then you know who you should be talking to? You know, if it's a story where it's like, hey, would you live here? And they say yes, then you can start sending messages to people like, hey, this home is for sale. Like, what are the chances that you buy it? Something like that. So, other questions? Did that even help? Okay. Yeah, I have to like, hello. Hello, Johnny. Welcome to Ignite. Yeah,
Best instructor ever.
thank you.
This guy, but he knows what he's talking.
How do I rank on the funny level compared to everyone else in your world?
7. Cameron makes you feel good, 'cause he always laughs at your jokes. That's the best thing. Everybody new agent? Everybody new agent? Yeah. Hey, Yogi. Well, welcome. I'll get to know you. I'll swing into his meetings every once in a while, teach something, so. Cool.
We're gonna,
Alex.
Alex,
True.
Trey,
Hey,
Faye, Ivan. Welcome aboard.
we'll have you teach everyone about money,
I like to teach.
some wealth building.
Too. Trying to do all the right things and do them from the very beginning, so,
Wait, Alex, how old are you? Oh, Trey? Almost right there, because these two are younger than that.
like the right things that feel slow and boring and monotonous. Time is in your favor.
The owner?
Yeah.
Of the brokerage? Very cool, very cool. What's
I
his
start-
name again?
Johnny Christensen.
Johnny Christensen.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So I started selling solo, started building a team, jumped into leadership, took over the management of the office, slowly bought out a bunch of partners, and then
You buy out the partner, is that what you said?
yeah, some of the yep. So I have 2 partners on this now. So I own half of the brokerage. We have another partner, Clay Winder, who also runs part of our team up there, and then another partner named Boyd Brown. He also owns a couple of the Salt Lake Keller Williams offices up there. He's a minority partner on this, and then it's me, Cam, Clay, and Boyd. We own the building that we built 5, 6, 7 years ago. So
Do you mind if I ask? And then there's Sean, right? Who's the CEO?
yeah, so most brokerages are ran by a principal broker that is also the CEO. And Keller Williams model, in my opinion, they're kind of different behavioral models. Dean is a rock star. Like he crosses every T, dots every I. Like he keeps us out of trouble and lawsuits and just makes sure everybody's all those contract reviewing, like my behavior, if I were assigned to review contracts, we would all get sued all the time. So that's why he does it. We divide up the leadership roles and have a CEO and then a principal broker. So that's what I did for about 19 years before I bought all the partners out. So I was the team leader, and when I became the majority owner, the model is the majority owner hires the CEO, and then the CEO is who runs the office. So he's been running it 3 full years. So yeah, and he's way better than I was. So he's smart for sure. So some of my passions like investing, you know, that's what made Cam spend a lot of our time on, just running our investment company and stuff. So
Nerd out.
I'd love to dip into some of your meetings. And it's my new assistant, Holland.
Oh, you have an official one? Oh, okay, welcome.
This is Violet. She is the little princess.
She's the boss. Violet, what are you doing for your birthday this week? What? Ooh,
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
Dr. Keith.
okay.
Great to meet you. Yeah. Okay.
Violet was born a day after my son. The 17th. Or wait, is she the 15th? Maybe she's the day before. I don't know. Yeah. That's crazy. Okay. Go be like Johnny. Do you guys want to know Johnny's story when he started? Okay. Because now he's left. I can tell you the true Johnny story. So he got in. Clay got in. Got to back up. Clay Winder got in, and he would go with another agent named Jimmy Rex out to different schools to like recruit other agents. And so Clay talked in some class that Johnny was in at UVU. And so Johnny decided to come in, and then him and Clay they both went to UVU, so they figured they'd just be buddies. It was like new agents, exactly like this. They just buddied up. And then they kept doing everything together. They're like, let's hire an assistant together. And they're like, you know what, let's just like partner up and be a team. And they decided to split all the closings 50-50 together. And Clay sells houses like crazy. Johnny does not sell houses like crazy, but Johnny is like a business guy to the core. And so then Johnny started to more like run the real estate business, like hire the people. And then he got hired on as the Shoney position. And then, so Clay would go out and sell, and Johnny was running the brokerage. And then they hired me to be like director of operations. And so I worked more with Clay to build like the real estate team up, but Johnny was like the business guy, and me and Clay were just out selling real estate, figuring that whole thing out. And then the team started to get bigger, and Johnny started to look for like what's his next thing, and that's where he was able to like slowly buy out. Boyd was the one that owned it because he owns a bunch of market centers here. So I bought him out, and then Johnny was able to step out and hire Shoney and start some other random businesses, and we've just been investing and hanging out. Yeah. Yeah.
So like, what is the
I'm just gonna end this too.